So if we can let change be okay, let all the feelings about it be okay, even when we like it, even when we don't like it, then we can learn some skills to calm our nervous system. So when that high alert is up, we know, okay, how can I help myself calm that nervous system, remind me that I'm safer and okay? Lean into acceptance as much as we can, right? To help facilitate a little bit more presence or better problem solving skills, and building that self trust and that self understanding over time so that you can start to see and say and really truly believe and embody that no matter what's going on in the world around you or in your world around you or what's changing, you can always rely on yourself. You can come back to who you really are, what really matters to you, and start to trust that you can get through this. Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be talking all about something that I see show up with a lot of people in general, a lot of my clients, and just it's in our human nature, honestly. But what to do when you notice that you kind of sort of resist change like no other, and how you can work through it, as well as like why do we do that? Why do a lot of us have that tendency? So first things first, if we haven't met yet, hi, I'm so glad that you have found this video. My name is Chelsea Connors. I am a certified life coach, therapist, and speaker. I support my clients using a very holistic approach to our emotional well-being, because the truth is that we all have emotional well-being and mental health, and it's time that we start talking about it more openly and learning the tools, skills, and techniques that we can each as unique individuals be utilizing and applying so that we can go through life feeling more supported when things are going really well, and also when they're kind of challenging. Yeah. So let's dive in, right, to this whole change concept. What can we do when we notice that we resist change, or we really, really fight against it, or we crave so much control that we have a hard time when we can't necessarily have that with everything in our lives? And so then we can start to feel all the feels about that, right? And the truth is that change happens all the time as we go throughout life. It is a hard truth of being human sometimes that there's going to be changes, probably some that we'll welcome in joyfully and others that we are really, really unhappy about. And this can be any kind of change, right? Like there are a lot of changes that happen maybe after you graduate college and are going to go through that transition, or maybe during a breakup, right? That is a big change that a lot of us experience that we may or may not have wanted. Either way, big change, right? Right now, as I'm recording this, we are still amidst the pandemic and COVID. So many people have had changes forced upon them, right? Whether it be working from home, and maybe you have some feelings about what that's like for you, what that looks like, not wanting to be in the situation that you're in, right? How understandable that you would have a lot of feels about that situation or about the changes that you are going through or enduring, right? And so one of the first things that comes up is to start to have a conversation about, well, why do I feel so averse to change in certain areas of my life? When we think about the mind, right, or the brain, it tends to be pretty focused on our safety and protection. And primarily, we make a lot of choices from that space, many of which are unconscious, right? They're kind of going on in the background, and we may not be fully aware of why we feel the way that we feel or what's coming up, right? And knowing that our brain or our mind and the thoughts that we have tend to come from a place of safety and protection, what's the biggest threat to that in a lot of cases? Well, uncertainty, right? And so when we're going through change or when change is upon us, there can be a lot of uncertainty and a lot of discomfort that comes along with that, right? That's okay. It is okay to feel uncomfortable or to not like certain changes that are going on in your life, right? So that's the first thing, right? Is to really, can we just let it be okay that either you don't like the change that's happening, or you're feeling really nervous and scared about it, or you're having a lot of internal conversations about what this change may or may not mean for you, or what it's going to look like. Again, whether it's like your life or your job or your relationships or how somebody views you as a person. There's a lot of ways that we can be impacted by change, or that changing can impact our day-to-day lives. And yet, if you think about your life right now as is, and then you think about your life 5 years ago, and then 5 years past that, so 10 years ago, does it look the same? Think about your relationships. Think about how you spend your days. Think about the people in your life, maybe, or the things that you know now that maybe you didn't know then, right? We change very often. And it's a reality that in order for us to grow and evolve, change is kind of necessary there, right? So letting it be okay, letting it come, letting that wave of change come to you or be welcomed in, even when it feels scary or uncertain, and just letting all of the emotions that are attached to that change also be okay, can be so transformative, because then it can give us a lot more time and space to be with what is rather than fight against that. Which is where a lot of us can get really stuck, is like, oh no, let me just grasp for the control of everything instead. And then I can make sure that everything goes exactly as planned, or that nobody gets hurt, or I don't feel scared or lost and alone. And that's usually some flawed internal dialogue, because the truth is, even if we have the best laid plans, there are things that are going to happen in life that we could never have planned for. COVID's a perfect example. Right? I don't think anybody knew what was coming in the year 2020. So letting it be okay is going to be really important. Then we can do some things to address your nervous system, which is usually what gets triggered or turned up when we're feeling scared or uncertain. And there is a perceived threat or perceived danger, which is what the mind, or the brain rather, how the brain can process uncertainty and changing, right? So calming the nervous system might be something like learning to really utilize deep breathing to activate your nervous system in a very different way. So rather than having the foot on the gas pedal all the time, which is often what we are encouraged to do to deal with pretty much everything, is like, just keep going, just work harder, just know more, just be better, and everything will feel okay. And yet we know that that's not true, right? So if we can start to calm our nervous system and remind our physical bodies that we are safe, that we are okay, then we are going to feel much more equipped and much more safe to respond rather than react in habitual ways or from old stories, right? So that's going to be number 2 of what we can do. So number 1 is we can just let the change be okay, even when we don't like it. We can acknowledge that change is going to happen in the times when we really, really want it, and the times where maybe we don't want it or we weren't anticipating it, which can be a really hard concept to sink your teeth into. I will give you that. But we can practice, right? There's no perfect way of doing any of this. The second is going to be to pick up some skills that can help you calm your nervous system when it kind of goes into that red alert mode, where it may not be the most supportive or the most helpful, because you're not in a life or death situation, but your nervous system is responding as if you are. right? So deep breathing, that belly breathing, can be a really great way to calm the nervous system. Third piece, and this one's tricky. You know how I said change is going to happen either way, right? Whether we wanted to or not, whether we accept it or resist it. So the third piece of what we can do when we notice that we resist the change is to think about, if I were to accept that this was coming or that this was happening, what might I do then? Right? Because oftentimes we spend so much time and energy resisting what is, and then we get really, really stuck staying in that same situation. But if we lean into acceptance of what's changing, of what's coming up, then we tend to be able to access the present moment a bit more, to problem solve a bit better, to support ourselves with what's going on and what we're feeling about what's going on, right? To be able to hear ourselves a little bit more rather than be pushing away what's coming up for us, right? I can remember when I was about to graduate from high school, me and my best friend had a couple of months where things were a little bit off and I didn't know what was going on, right? I felt like nothing significant had happened. We didn't get in a fight, but our relationship just shifted and I felt kind of disconnected from her. And we kind of had like a come to Jesus moment. And when we were talking through like what had happened and what was going on between us, she shared with me, I know everything's about to change and we're no longer going to live around the corner from each other. And because I don't want that to happen, or I don't know what that's going to look like or how that's going to impact our relationship, I've just been closing you off because I don't want to look at that change or think about that change, right? And so when we resist, it still impacts how we engage with our lives, the relationships that we have, the decisions that we make, right? If we accept, then we might be able to say, okay, I still can't tell the future. I still don't know what this means or why this is happening maybe, or what this is going to look like, or how I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be okay. Right? The truth is that we can't always guarantee that. But when we accept that what's happening, what's changing is coming or is here, then I can start to say, well, how can I support myself here? How do I want to be right now in this moment? What feels really important to me now? Right? And how can I express that? Or how can I take action on that? Or how can I show up for myself or other people in that? Right? And we can start to be much more intentional in how we live life, which tends to feel a lot better than when we're stuck in the fear and the resistance of moving with what's going on. Right? And that brings me to my last point, which is center back to you. So if we can let change be okay, let all the feelings about it be okay, even when we like it, even when we don't like it, then we can learn some skills to calm our nervous system. So when that high alert is up, we know, okay, how can I help myself calm that nervous system, remind me that I'm safer and okay, right? Lean into acceptance here as much as we can, right? To help facilitate a little bit more presence or better problem solving skills. And then what I kind of just alluded to was centering back on you and getting really, really clear about those values and what is most important to you in life. And building that self-trust and that self-understanding over time so that you can start to see and say and really truly believe and embody that no matter what's going on in the world around you or in your world around you or what's changing, you can always rely on yourself. You can come back to who you really are, what really matters to you, and start to trust that you can get through this. And so that's where starting to do some exploration and regularly connecting with yourself in a really like thoughtful way can be so important, because then we can start to approach that fear, which is often what drives the resistance to change and the grief, right? And say like, okay, and I have the fear, I have the grief, I might be letting go of a lot of things, I might be forced into situations I don't necessarily want to be in, I might not understand why this change is happening, or it might feel so big and overwhelming. And I have this trust in myself that I can come back to me amidst all of that, that I can center in on who I really am at my core, what really matters to me, how I want to approach each and every day of my life, and continue to center back in on those things when I get lost in the noise of all the chaos and the stress and the pressure of what's going on around me. Yeah. So I hope that some of those thoughts, some of those tips, some of those steps might be helpful if you are in a season where you are confronting change, or you know change is coming, or maybe you've been thrust into a change that you would never choose for yourself and you're really struggling to not resist it, that this might give you some things to think about or different ways of approaching it. And if that fourth piece of thinking about how you can start to cultivate a relationship with yourself so that you can develop more self trust and more self-understanding, I am going to be offering a Connect Within 7-day journaling challenge. And we are starting on September 8th. So I'm going to link it below if that feels like something that might benefit you, where you want to learn what that looks like and how it could feel to have a practice or regularly be asking yourself questions that help you feel more supported by you first and foremost. Go ahead and sign up. And then if you liked this video and you want to hear more, I would absolutely love it if you subscribe to this channel. And I will see you next time, friends. I hope you have a beautiful morning, day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Talk soon.